Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the iRacing Grand Prix World Championship Series. This is round 7 and we are at Virginia International Raceway. Today in the booth with me is Randy Shenworth. Good afternoon, Randy.
How's it going, Jake?
Yeah, it's
Beautiful
going
day
well.
Here at Virginia International Raceway.
Yeah, really well. It's going really good so far. Really great grid. Nice to see 35 cars, a full grid again for the WCS series. It's really interesting to see what this series can produce again going forward throughout the rest of the series.
Yeah, this World Championship Grand Prix series always produces fantastic racing, and at a track like VIR, it's going to be amazing to see a full grid. We should see some good running throughout the up and down the field. It's a very difficult circuit, as we saw last year, but hopefully it's a little cleaner than last year.
Yeah, definitely. You mentioned there this track is a brilliant track, a hard one to race as well, and it'll be even harder with the wind conditions and the weather conditions. Today, track temperature 65 Fahrenheit. We have a westerly wind at 4 miles an hour and also a 41% humidity. So drivers are going to have to lot of think about there with that wind speed. A westerly wind, which means they'll have a headwind through the home straight, but they'll also have that side wind through the S-bends and down the back straight, Randy.
Yeah, that headwind is going to make the draft a little bit more advantageous as you head down the front straight and into turn 1, which really is the best passing opportunity here. But going through the S's, you're going to have that side draft, which is really going to work against you going through those S's. It'll probably make the car a little bit upset than what these guys might be used to, but then again, they can make it to the Pro Series, so I figure they must be relatively decent at car control.
Yeah, really something we're not really used to seeing is that side wind at most tracks, but drivers in the Pro Series should be able to handle that. The guy who has actually missed out on the grid as well, he got a really good qualifying position 2 weeks back, is Mac Backham. He's got his pro license, obviously, from the Grand Prix Series the first season, but he's trying to get into that qualifying, trying to sneak a little spot into the WCS grid, which in some things is a good thing for him to do and gives him hopefully that experience for when he tries to run for the World Championship Series next season.
Yeah, it's definitely always a good thing to work on your experience and see how you compare to some of the competition a bit easy. As he said, he didn't slip it into the grid this week, but he's certainly given props for trying and for even getting to his getting his black stripe in the first place. I do know he was pounding a lot of Indianapolis laps this week, so maybe he got a bit distracted with that.
I think everyone's been turning Indianapolis laps this week with the release of the DW12. Going back to the track though, Randy, it's a difficult track. Last season, I was watching a video and there was 17 incidents on one corner, and that was the Oak Tree Bend, which is something we have to talk about because that is the famous corner for Virginia International Raceway, isn't it?
Yeah, the Oak Tree, if not the corner of the tree itself, really is the mascot of the circuit. It's a very difficult hairpin. It's a lot like Moss Corner is at Mossport. It's uphill, it's more or less 2 corners, but these cars are going so fast that it's treated as one tight hairpin. You get a very uphill braking zone that then levels out, and then you get onto you got to exit on the back straight to get a good exit. And the way as narrow the track is in the middle of the corner, it's very easy to run wide, and if you get a tire off on the outside, you just spin.
Yeah, it really is a very interesting track. Another thing we've not really seen much of this season though, Randy, is light racing together. It's sort of been a few group racing up the front, but other than that, we've seen single file racing, which is not something we're used to in the WCS. We've obviously seen some record breaking as well. We had 4 different winners in the first 4 races, but then Gregor Hutu came through and won Phillip Island and Watkins Glen, 2 back-to-back wins, which is really going to bolster him this week. But Hugo Luis as well, really bad race at Watkins Glen 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, definitely. Hugo's starting to possibly get back to his normal dominating form that a lot of people are probably used to seeing seeing out of him in the WCS. We'll have to see. But like you said, 4 different winners in the first 4 races. Excuse me. It'll be interesting to see if we can
through what has shaken up a bit. Alessi Ayusi at Jacola. not dropping back actually, sorry, coming forward 4 places, now sits into the P6 position behind Jeremy Bouteloup. Really great start from him, but someone who didn't really have the greatest of start, Enzo Benito, started in 4th. He's now dropped back to that P8 position, so he's going to have to do a lot of work to make up again here. We saw him have a really good run 2 weeks ago at Watkins Glen. Great action as we see Aleski Ayusiakola all over the back there of Jeremy Bouteloup. Not managing to make the pass through the S-bends though as they come down into that famous oak tree bend. We've still not seen an incident around there. Wow, really close there. Enzo Benito really right up the back of Jacola.
Indeed, Benito might be looking to make an early pass here, but this back straight isn't really the best place to make a pass with the way the corners are at the end of it. One goes to the left, so if you manage to get to the inside on that one, the next one go to the right. Suddenly you're on the outside. Very difficult place to pass. Right now we got some, like you said, some absolutely great battles going up and down the field. But right now up at the front, Gregor Hutu is starting to stretch the gap to Hugo Louis just a little bit. It's not too far out. Hugo Louis has probably got a little lick of that of the toe that he can use down the back and front stretch. But Gregor is stretching it out just a tad. But behind him we got a fantastic battle Andre Butcher and Isaac Prix for 3rd and 4th.
Isaac definitely won't be wanting to lose out there to Andre Boccia. He's really a big rivalry between them 2 teams of the 3ID Motorsports and the iNext Racing guys. Really big battles between them guys we've seen throughout the whole season, but Isaac will definitely be trying to hold on, see if he can get the best finish. To mention actually, that was his best qualifying so far in the WCS. This is obviously his first full season. He did run a couple of races towards the end last season, and he really did show his talent at the end of last season, so very interesting to see how he can do for the rest of the season and if he can keep that pro license. Currently P11 in the championship, so I really reckon he's going to be pushing for that top 5. But as we look back now, Oli Bacara all over the back of Enzo Benito, but Benito all over the teammate of Bacala, and that is Jacola. He makes the move to the inside, not going to make that stick. Jacola there just closes the gap. Enzo Benito really having to hit his brakes hard there, nearly causing an accident between him and his teammate Oli Bacara.
Yeah, that braking zone after the back straight is very, very tricky to get by. Like I said, if you're even able to stick a nose in before that little left-hand kink, you're going to be on the outside for the right-hander. So it's one of those places where, as long as the back straight is, you want to make a move, but it's very, very easy to defend as well. So it's not really the most advantageous place to attempt to pass in the world. As towards the back of the pack, we have Yua Avi moving back to the spot, I believe, to Yoni Pramala. That's going to be for the 13th spot, so that was going into turn number 1.
Yeah, there's really some big battles going on throughout the field, but I've not really seen someone actually make that incredible jump forward from where they started on the grid. Everyone seemed to be 3 or 4 positions from where they started, which is interesting because normally we will see that big high climber within the first few laps, but all filing through as we now we now come on to lap number 4. So very interesting to see. We have no retirement so far, Randy, which is something we're not used to really in the WCS. We normally would see an incident or something on the first couple of laps. So very good driving by all drivers so far and really good using their heads, but some drivers out in front definitely starting to stretch that lead.
Yeah, there's definitely a 2-car breakaway right now between Gregor Hutu and Hugo Louis to away from Isaac Prix and Andre Boucher. Andre and Isaac are too far back. Isaac was 2.6 last time by. Let's see what he is this time. So 3/10 now, so he lost 4/10 to Gregor Hutu that lap. So down to 3-second gap. Isaac's gonna be wants to try to keep the see about getting the as we got Hutu going off a little bit before NASCAR bend. Excuse me. Able to keep his position. Only got 2 wheels off there on the outside. Well done to keep it underneath him, but an uncharacteristic mistake from Hutu.
Yeah, we saw actually a few mistakes from him made this season. He's not really had that greatest a start. Obviously, he's now picked up them 3 wins, so that will give him that confidence to go forward. But looking at the lap times, Randy, Gregor Hutu has run a 121.937, whereas Hugo Luis has actually run a 121.8. So he's actually a 10th quicker than Gregor Hutu. So it'll be interesting to see what fuel strategy, what pit stop strategy. That's something we've not really talked about this race so far. So generally, I'd say 2-stop strategy for this track, maybe a 1-stop strategy. But What would you reckon? Would they be on a 2-stop or a 1-stop? We've not seen a 2-stop actually being pulled off this season so far.
From people I was talking to, a 2-stopper could be possible. For 1-stoppers, they'll be pitting around 33 to 36. 2-stoppers who try and do the 2-stopper, it'd probably be pit stops would be around 23 to 25. Right now, we're getting a replay of the start going on your screen right now.
One hell of a start there, though, for Gregor Hutu. As you see it on your screens now, he's really managed to break away from Hugo Luis. Hugo Luis really actually left standing there. So, very interesting to see the different torque ratios drivers are using in their cars. But we look back down to the field now. Enzo Benito under all sorts of pressure by the Glacier Racing team. Aleski Ayusi actually missed the last 2 rounds due to being on vacation. Oli Picaro, though, having a really poor Watkins Glen race. He got into that trouble in action with Hugo Luis last week at Watkins Glen, you must remember, turn number 13, coming up the left-hand hill. Them two made contact, and that put an end to their races very early on in that race. That was on lap 1. So them two drivers are really happy to actually still be out in this race because they need them vital championship points running 2nd and 3rd.
Yeah, something we didn't notice, Enzo Benito was actually able to get by Jeremy Bootsloop this lap, and it looks like iWCGPS is all over the back of Bootsloop as well. We might see Bootsloop running a 1-stopper here, and these other guys might be on a 2-stopper. Bootsloop has been dropped back just a little bit from where he's been running.
Yeah, really not got that pace as Aleski Ayusi looks to the inside of turn number 1. He will go up to the inside. He will hold that line. Real close race in there as they come down. Oli Picaro's going to try and get it done as well. Not being able to there. Jeremy Bootsloop just closes the gap. Now on the exit of turn number 2. Into 3. Into 4A as well. Then 4B. Really close race. And Picaro, though, all over the back of Jeremy Bootsloop. This is going to be something to really look forward to. But also right behind Oli Picaro is Martin Kroenke. 3ID Motorsport guy will want to be able to make this work. He knows he can run in that top 5. He's not a 9th place driver. But this is some real big action going on here for these top 10 spots. We look back though, Jake Sturgis managed to get past Rocker Barone as well. But Rocker Barone will want to come back into Oak Tree Bend. He looks to the inside, looks to the outside. Nowhere to go though. Still very surprised we've not seen any offs in that Oak Tree Bend.
Yeah, same here as well. I haven't noticed anything, and I've been looking a little bit who went back to the field, so it'll be interesting to see if the drivers have figured it out a little bit. Maybe the cars are a little bit more predictable than they were last year, but last year Oak Tree definitely provided some entertainment courtesy of a Jordan Jennings video that is on YouTube. But this battle right now is about 6th place to about 11th. It's basically a freight chain of cars right now. Enzo Benito was in that, but with all the passing that was going on with Bootsloop and Ducola and Picala, he's able to stretch out a gap a little bit, which I'm sure he will appreciate, as Jeremy Bootsloop gets passed by Oli Picala going into 1. Picala is clear on the brake zone, done nice and easy, and I really do think Bootsloop is running a bit heavy on fuel right now, the way he's dropping back. He's lost a few positions in his mini lap. Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see on this, if he's playing the long game, the strategy could work out quite in his favor.
Yeah, he does seem very heavier. He doesn't seem to have that exit speed through the last bend through 17. So it'll be very interesting to see which is actually fuel strategy he is running. But Jeremy Bootsloop obviously got problems with that car or on the heavier fuel strategy now as Oli Picaro just drives away into the sunset as they come down through the S bends and then into Oak Tree Bend. A single lap of this track only taken 1 minute 20, 1 minute 21, which is very surprising. It means it's such a long track and a narrow track at that as well, Randy.
Yeah, the thing is that there's a lot of straightaway, especially in these cars. The S's for the most part are flat out, and then you have a long back straightaway. So even though it's such a long track, 3.27 miles, there's probably close to at least more than half of that is spent full throttle just picking up speed. So the lap times just aren't that long.
No, as we look to the front now and have a look at Gregor Hutu's lap times. His last lap time by was his quickest lap of the race, a 1:21.538. And Hugo Luis has actually dropped back. The gap between him and Gregor Hutu now a 1.1 second gap. Hugo Luis, his quickest lap time is only still that 1:21.8. So he really is struggling. So whether that's another pit stop fuel strategy, we'll have to find out later on in the race. But Isaac Price back in 3rd position, really good charge from him. He's managed to pull that gap away from Andre Boccia. and also Isaac's lap time is a 1:21.934. So he is sort of on that pace and on par with Hugo Luis at the moment. So that could come down to some pit stop strategies.
Yes, definitely. Isaac is having a fantastic drive right now, looking like he might have a really good chance at a podium here in the World Championship Grand Prix Series, which would be awesome. But like you said, Gregor right now is just stretching out the gap to Hugo. This could be fuel stuff. Hugo might be saving gas, but Hutu has also generally been very, very good at not only saving gas, but keeping up that pace as well as he does. We've seen him, stay out a lap later before than Hugo does and able to just, completely stretch a lead. And whereas Hugo, that's where he's kind of struggled a little bit. But it'll be interesting to see. It could definitely be a major, major factor come the end of this race.
Yeah, it definitely could be a major factor as we watch Isaac Price goes in there with a 1:21.787. Hugo Luis in there though with a 1:21.618, so he's definitely starting to pick up the pace. But Gregor Hutu, quickest lap of the race so far, a 1:21.456. So he is absolutely flying. But we look down the field though, not many drivers are really matching that pace. We've got Enzo Benito doing a 1:21.7, so that is actually quicker than that third place guy of Isaac Price. We got to remember though, Enzo Benito sits 9 seconds behind Gregor Hutu, and that is 4 seconds behind Isaac Price. So pack really starting to spread out. The closest gap at the moment on the field is from that 6th position, probably all the way down actually to that 11th, 12th position, where there's only 2 seconds separating them. So anyone's really in that top 10 position, top 10 fight at the moment.
Yeah, right now the battles up front are kind of stringing out, and it's turning into a bit of a game of strategy and cat and mouse somewhat, but back here towards the back end of the top 10, the higher part of the top 15, it's looking like it's going to be a very interesting race as we got a bit of a choo-choo going.
Sorry about that. If we had some technical issues there, we were experiencing a few technical troubles. We're hopefully back on your screens again now, and we'll just give you a quick rundown. We're now on lap number 10. Drivers are about to come on to lap 11 as we cross the line. Gregor Hutu is your current out front leader. He currently has a 1.377 gap between him and Hugo Luis. Third place, Isaac Price. Fourth, Andre Boccia. Fifth, Enzo Benito. Sixth, Oli Bacara. 7th, Aleski iWCGPS. 8th, Martin Kroenke. 9th, Jeremy Bouteloup. And in 10th place, rounding out that top 10, is Jake Sturgios. Really upsetting race so far for Jeremy Bouteloup though. We mentioned him. He seems to be dropping back on that strong fuel load. So he started in 6th, so he's now dropped back them 3 positions, which seems to be getting left in the dust though by the drivers behind him, as we see Jake Sturgios all over the back of them as they come through the S-bends, down into that hill, up the hill again, into Oak Tree Bend. There is something wrong with that car, isn't there?
I don't know if there's, there may not necessarily be anything wrong with it if he's running the higher fuel load. I mean, the way he's dropping back, I mean, his pace seems about right for what would it be if he was carrying 14 more laps of fuel in order to make it to the point where he could do a one-stopper. As he gets passed by Jake Sturgios, putting him now down in P10, and now Rocco Barone and Jory Mala are going to be looking to try to take advantage of and slip past Jeremy here. But it's going to be interesting to see. We're going to have to watch here in about the next 10 to 15 laps when early pit stops start, when exactly Jeremy brings that Radical Racing car down pit lane. It's going to be, I think it's going to be one of the bigger points to watch during this race. Because right now we got Rocco and Joni trying to make moves. We got a spin.
Joni
spun in turn 1, trying to get by, and he brings it back on, and I believe that Stephen Michaels has to check up and not run in the back of him. Marty Patella as well.
Really interesting there. What happened there? We'll have to get a replay onto your screen. That was Joni Tamala there. That was very interesting. What Jeremy Bouteloup was trying to do, he moved to the inside, and Rocco Barone sort of went to the outside there into turn number 1. That's where Joni Tamala tried to get the advantage up the inside, and Rocco sort of came down and closed the gap on him, didn't he, Randy?
Just a little bit. I don't think it was too dirty. We just saw Joni there in the 12th position going into turn 1.
Sorry to interrupt you there, but Oli Bacara has become our first victim of the Oak Tree Bend. We'll have to get a replay of that on your screen soon, but he was running in that P6 position. He did actually take into the tyre wall, so that could be some rear wing damage on that car. We'll have to get some confirmation and see if he comes down pit road, but we'll get a replay of that on your screen soon. He hit that wall very hard, Randy.
Yeah, he's, I mean, you're going about 80 to 90 miles per hour at the end of that Oak Tree. And like we were saying, he just got a little bit wide. All he got, he just barely clipped the rear tire with a on the dirt. He missed the curb by about a foot. He tried to apex about a foot too, or not apex, but track out about a foot too early, and he got the rear tire on the grass, lost grip, car spun, and put him in the wall. It really is that easy.
It's really unfortunate there for Ollie Beccaro. He's been having a great season so far for only his first season as well in the WCS, so that's an unfortunate exit to him again. He had that early exit at Watkins Glen, not managing to score any championship points, if not any. So we'll have to see whether he can get that car back out again. It did look like he did have some wheel damage, but he's now coming out of pit road, so he will be out first of the pit stops, but that's down to damage and down to instance. But that also shakes up the top 10 now, though. Martin Cronke moves up into 7th, Sturgios into 8th, and Bootsloop regains that 9th position again. But Rocco Barone still all over the back of Jeremy Bootsloop as they come out of the Oak Tree Bend, down through the back straight.
Yeah, Bootsloop has been, looking at the lap time, Bootsloop's been running 23s, and the people that were trapped behind him were running relatively similar lap times, as we see Rocco Barone slipping by on the outside, going in, now down into the roller coaster, but going in the hoghead at the end of the back straight, he managed to slip on the outside. Fantastic move by Rocco Barone there, but likes of Martin Cronke, they were running about 23 flats, and now that they've been able to get out in front of him, they've been running 21.8, what Cronke just run. So the lap time has come down quite a bit for those guys that were trapped behind Bootsloop. So I really do think we're seeing a one-stop strategy someone playing out here.
Yeah, I had a word with Martin Cronke and some of the 3ID guys actually in the week and the weeks running up to this race, and they said that their pace is good, but they're struggling with the wind conditions, and I think that doesn't only speak for the 3ID guys, but that speaks for most of the guys on the track, because we're not really seeing much happen on the back straights and through the S-bend with that crosswind. What we expected to actually give more of a play into this race, but drivers obviously not really having any problems with that at the moment. As we watch Martin Cronke now perfect through that Oak Tree Bend, he couldn't have got that any better if he tried, could he, Randy?
No, he really couldn't have, and really that's what you have to do here. You have to try to take as much out of the Oak Tree as you possibly can. But the problem is that if it doesn't take much to get it wrong, and when you do, you race a lot of times, more often than not, is over. So it really is one of those situations where you need it. You know, it's the racer's mind that's telling you go as fast as I can, go as fast as I can. But even if you slip up just a little bit, it's boom, you just ended your race.
Yeah, we now bring you a replay of the start again. How much of a great start that was from Gregor Hutu there. Hugo Luis really was left standing, Randy, as we said earlier on. It was something out of the ordinary for Gregor Hutu. He's not normally the start master. Hugo Luis is normally the guy that will smoke anyone off the start, but that wasn't the case here, so that uphill effect may be playing a bit into it. But Rocco Barone managing to get himself now by Jeremy Bootsloop up into the P9 position. He only sits 2/10 off the back of Jake Sturgios. He'll be hoping to chase him down and move forward up the grid. Isaac Price now dropping to 6 seconds behind our race leader Gregor Hutu, 4 seconds behind Hugo Luis. Hugo Luis managing to drop 2 seconds on Gregor Hutu, so Gregor really showing his dominant form again back into this season. But everywhere you look on the field, Randy, there is battles going on all the way down into that 33rd position with Paul Ilbrink.
Definitely, we're seeing a lot of fantastic battles, a little bit spread out, but not so bad that it's completely boring. Here at the end of the back of the track, we have a pretty awesome train going from about Jan Nizolowski to Simon Cattell. We have a fantastic train of about 6 or 7 cars, so I don't know. It's definitely it's playing out to be a very, very, very interesting race with the way strategy is playing out, with the way we got Jeremy Bootsloop as a possible one-stopper. It's amazing to see how that works out. We got to see also if Hugo can come back during the second half of this race and really try to make a charge, which is something he really needs to do. It would help his championship standings out quite a bit.
Yeah, it really will help his championship standings. Gregor Hutu took the lead of the championship after Watkins Glen with that win, and Hugo Luis finishing in a miserable 23rd position, which has got to be the worst finish we've actually seen him have since his WCS beginning, as we got word of someone that is actually off the track.
Yes, it was John Nizolowski through the last corner. He caught the curb and then he got loose, and he did hit the wall that's about a mile away from the front straightaway. He just slid on the grass. That's not going to do that Williams FW31 any good. So it's going to be interesting to see if there's any serious damage there. If he's going to be able to keep going or not. But that is a definitely an unwanted mistake, as he rejoined and he did not bring it down the pit lane, which he could have. So it looks like he thinks he's probably not all that damaged.
Yeah, he is all the way back down now into 32nd position. He is the only guy left. He is the bottom of the lead lap runners. We currently only have one retirement, and that is Ollie Bacara. He was running in P6, where he got it terribly wrong into the oak tree bend, the tiniest bit of wheel onto the grass, and that sent him off into the tyre wall. That is our first casualty of oak tree bend. But Ogarfilo, he took an early crash earlier on, I think, as well, because he's now a lap down as well. I can see a little bit of damage on the side pod of that car, so we'll have to find out after the race and have a word with him and see what actually happened to him. But a battle we must keep an eye on right now is for that 5th position. Enzo Benito all the way up onto the back of Andre Bocciolo as they through Oak Tree Bend now. Enzo Benito gets a really good run. He'll be into the draft position as they come down the back straight. Remember, they've got that side wind, so he's going to have that disadvantage as well. But really strong charge from Enzo Benito so far. He's had a really solid season.
It definitely has been. We have the first of our pit stops. We have Patrick Holzman, who just pulled into the pits, which is a pretty early stop, I think. I think we were expecting our first stops to be somewhere in the lap 20, early 20s, from about 22, 23. As he exits the pits, then he completely jumps out of the way of our top two, which is good sportsmanship there. He knows he's going to go a lap down. Might as well make it as easy as possible on the front two. So yeah, shout out there to Patrick Holzman.
Yeah, very respectful there, Randy, as you said. Still though, looking at this battle, Enzo Benito really all over the back of Andre Bocciolo. Something we've not really seen is these two fighting. It's something we've not really seen much of this season, and not really seen much of Enzo Benito either. But he has had a good season. He has had consistent finishes, but not in the high point scoring areas really, Randy, has he? He's had the 9th and 10th and the 11th, but he's not really had them top 3s and the top 5s that really score you the massive championship points as they come through the S's now. He looks to the inside into Oak Tree Bend. He's not going to be close enough though. Gets a little loose there. That's not something you want to be doing, Randy, looking to the inside of Oak Tree Bend, because that could end both of your races.
Yeah, Oak Tree is somewhere you can pass if the car ahead makes a big mistake through the S's, but besides that, you can't really do it. As right now, he's sitting in the draft, seeing if he can make a move on Andre. He moves to the left. He goes really deep on the brakes and is able to get the job done. Fantastic move there by Enzo Benito to get past Andre Bocciolo for that 4th spot.
Really textbook stuff from these drivers, pulling out all the stops on one of the narrowest circuits we head to actually in the championship. Looking up to your top 10 again though, Gregor Hutu still leads the way. He has a 2.2 second lead over Hugo Luis. Isaac Price then 7 seconds back from Gregor Hutu. He really has dropped back after the best qualifying of his WCS history. Enzo Benito there just making the pass on Andre Bocciolo. He now moves into that P4 position. Andre Bocciolo moves down into P5. Alessi Ayusi-Jacola, he now sits in 6th position, followed by Martin Kroenke, that 3ID Motorsports car.
Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we've had an off from our potential one-stopper. Jeremy Bootsaloop going through the roller coaster. He caught the curb on the right, and the car literally just instantly spun about 180 degrees on him, and he got into that outside wall as well and got a good chunk of damage out of that, and I think his race might be done.
That does look like a retirement coming down pit road there. He's just put the power down and that car's sort of spun out on him, but that's going to be a retirement surely. He's not going to be able to get that car fixed. But he also actually caused a little confusion with a few drivers on track there, because blew down right on that home straight there where drivers are doing about 200 miles an hour, which is not the best thing to be doing, and then pulled straight across into the pits where drivers could have been coming, as we get a replay of that on your screens for you. He exits the pit lane. Whether he'll be able to keep that car going to the end of the race, unlike Ollie Picara did, he managed to retire from the race. But as you say, Randy, very unfortunate for him there as he just allows Isaac Price to go by. So he is actually now a lap down. He is a lap down to Gregor Hutu and the rest of the drivers, so it's a very big unfortunate thing for a driver we could be seeing doing a one-stop strategy. But I really do think most drivers will be doing that one-stop strategy, Randy.
I'm not so sure from the lap times. Given where Jeremy started, the way he was backing off, I think he was a little far off for him to be on the same strategy as everyone else. I think everyone else seemed like they were much lighter compared to compared to Jeremy, as we did see him pull the car off and retire. So that's going to be our second retirement of the day. Which, so unfortunate there for Jeremy, because it looked like I think he might have had a really good run for him, and therefore it would have been fantastic to see how that strategy played out.
Actually, our third retirement of the day, we must say Patrick Holzman has actually retired after that unfortunate off. So that is going to be our third car out of the race. Unfortunate for Jeremy. He was having a really good race until that unfortunate spin. We have seen a few comments in chat, but if you'd like to tweet at us, it is at LLM Cami on Twitter. For me, Randy,
I'm not too active on Twitter. I will.
And if you want to tweet at PSR TV, get your questions in. Also in the YouTube section, you can comment, put in any questions you have, and we can answer them at the end. If you have any questions for any drivers, we will do our best to get them answered by you as well. But back to the racing. Really great stuff again. Gregor Hutu, 2-second lead out in front of Hugo Luis. What can you say? He has come back dominant after them 2 wins, hasn't he, Randy?
Oh, he definitely has. He may have had a difficult start to the season. Maybe took some time off before the season started, and then just, got off to a bit of a road patch compared to everyone else. But he's definitely gotten himself back into form as he's gone 3 in a row, and if he's able to keep this up, he's going to make it 4 in a row is what it's looking like, which I don't think he'll mind that one bit, as we still have that good, fantastic battle going for Benito and Bocher. Benito stretched the gap just a little bit, but not too much, and Bocher's been able to reel him back in ever so slightly.
Actually, it would only be Gregor Hutu's third win on the trot, actually, Randy. He took the first race win at Spa, but then he obviously took the Phillip Island and Watkins Glen, so it would be his third win on the trot, but 4th win of the season, which is definitely going to boast to him over Hugo Luis, if he can do that to the end. But as you were saying, Andre Bochela and Enzo Benito not really being able to stretch that gap from Bochela. He's only 4/10 behind Enzo Benito, so that's going to be something to play out through the pit stops. Who can go further? Because you have to remember, Randy, 1 pit stop in these, if a driver can do an extra 2 laps, we saw it last week at Watkins Glen, the driver can do 2 or 3 more laps on a fuel load. That is equivalent of 30 seconds on the racetrack, which is a lot of time to make up over someone, especially when you're fighting for that lead.
Oh yeah, definitely. The way fuel affects these cars so much, it could be a second or more of just pure pace, just that the car just doesn't have anymore. Probably one for more, especially at a track like VIR where there's so many tight corners. It slows down the car down so much that even if you just miss out on a lap or 2, it can just suddenly you're way far back from a guy you were just with wings. And as we saw Bocher, he just scraped the wall going through the Oak corner there. It's gonna be interesting to see if he got any damage. His right front wing is damaged, so it's gonna be interesting to see how much will slow them down. That's a potentially huge misstep there from Bocher to possibly keep on the Enzo Benito for this P4.
Yeah, he's got some really bad front wing damage as well on that right side of the cut, so a silly mistake from him when he's running in that P5 position. All them vital championship points now could just go to waste, but Hugo Luis is down pit road. That is our first of the pit stops. Isaac Price moves through into 2nd position. Hugo Luis is down pit road. We are on lap 23, so this will be very interesting to see now who else will follow that and who else will come down pit road. Actually, Hugo Luis has retired. No, he hasn't.
No, he hasn't. He's pulled out.
To get my hopes up there.
What are you doing?
He just disappeared on my screen.
You, sir, call yourself a commentator.
That got me worried there, Randy.
So we see Hugo Luis blinking first for the pit stop, which is something that has been somewhat characteristic of the Gregor and Hugo battles over the years. Hugo normally is the one to pit first, and it is something that really has hurt him a lot of times. So it's going to be interesting to see if if Gregor's going to be able to stretch out this gap.
But not only that though, Hugo didn't come back out into where he had wanted to. He didn't come back out into that clean air, but he has now just got by. That was the lap car, I think, of Paul Ilbrink. So he has now got by, and that will be able to give him that fresh air that he wanted, because he didn't want to really come out into traffic. But incredibly, he's actually come out in front of Rocco Barone as well. That is only P8 he's come out in front of, so he's not really lost that many positions. But Rocco Barone is entitled to do what he is doing. He looks to the inside now as they come down the back straight. Really great move up the inside there. Hugo Luis obviously on the more fuel of everyone. So Gregor Hutu is in the box as well. We've just been told confirmation Isaac Price will take our race lead. Gregor Hutu is in pit road. This will be interesting to see if Hugo Luis can jump him. We also just see there another 3ID Motorsport car of Juni Tawala come in as well. Has Hugo Luis been able to do it? I don't think he has. Gregor Hutu has...
Hugo lost a lot of time. Hugo lost like 3 or 4 seconds in that battling with those other drivers. Gregor Hutu right now is going through the tight section just before the straightaways to the S's. Hugo's only going through NASCAR Bend. Hugo went from about 2 seconds back to probably 6 to 7.
But this is something we mentioned earlier though. Isaac Price now does lead the race. So how many laps he can stretch is something we'll have to find out. Isaac really having a good race so far. He can say he's now, once he crossed the line, he can say he's now led his first ever WCS lap, which for him is going to be a big achievement. A driver that's only just joined the series this season as well. So interesting to see whether he comes down pit road now as he comes through the last of the bends. He comes through 17, Hog Pen, through 17A and onto the home straight. He's in pit road. Our race leader is down to pit lane. This will be interesting to see where Gregor Hutu comes out. Gregor Hutu now only entering 17, now 17A. I think Hutu's going to come out in front. Enzo Benito though did stay out as well, Randy.
Yeah, that's going to be do a lot for Enzo's pace.
Hutu's
obviously, Hutu is obviously by Isaac Price. Hutu had a pretty substantial lead there going in, so I'm not really surprised. The thing that really did surprise me though was the gap Hutu was able to stretch over Hugo. Right now it's about 5 seconds on track, so Hugo lost about 3 seconds in the pit stop, and then in the excuse me, in the traffic as well, going down the back stretch. And that's one of the risks you play as being one of the first people to actually pull into the pit. Is that if you're getting a heavier car sooner, and if you come out in traffic, they are more than allowed to try and make moves and pass you, as you are technically 4th position, which is exactly what cost Hugo that so much time.
Other drivers to come down pit road there alongside Isaac Price was the 4th car of Andre Botchlar, Aleski Akola. Rocco Barone stayed out though, but someone else came down pit road as well. I think that was Jake Sturgios as well came down pit road. So that's very interesting.
Jake Sturgios stayed out because right now he's behind Isaac, and he was
we did
quite
see
a ways
3 cars come
Isaac.
down. So
I believe it was a Andre Botchlar you saw.
Enzo Benito, our current race leader, is down pit road as well. So Gregor Hutu should be able to... Actually, no, Martin Kroenke stayed out a very long time. Martin Kroenke has. He will take our race lead. Unofficial race leader, should I say, as we have to wait for the pit stops to all file through again. But Isaac Price is not that far off the back of Hugo Luis, to be honest. Only about a 2-second, actually, a second gap, sorry, should I say. So that's a very big difference that Isaac's been able to make up into the pit lane, Randy. He's been able to make up a 3-second gap that he had between him and Hugo Luis. This could be an interesting battle for that 2nd position. Definitely,
and with the fact that Isaac is getting better mileage than Hugo, that's something that's going to pay dividends over the course of the race. One lap, that last stint could turn into 1 or 2 this next stint, which if Hugo has to stay out or pit that much sooner again, it's really, really going to hurt his his chances of getting into that top 2. He maybe put down a fighting for 3rd, maybe even a spot that's not even on the podium, as we see him exiting this oak tree and getting ready to go down this long back straight here, but not behind the car of, I believe it's Paul Ilbrink. Yes, it is.
Yep, the lap down car of Paul Ilbrink there. He is about to go a lap down again. He got his lap back when everyone went into pit lane. But something we have to mention about Hugo Luis, not
Kroenke's in the pits.
Martin Kroenke, our unofficial race leader, does come down the pit road this time as well. Something we do have to mention about Hugo Luis, Randy, though, is his pit stops. Not always the best pit stop we've seen from Hugo Luis. He took too much fuel at Road America. He really severely mucked up his chances of winning at Phillip Island with that really slow pit stop. He was 2 seconds slower than Gregor Hutu in pits, and we know Hutu is the master of pit stops and pit entries. But this time by, or should I say this race, Hugo Luis's in-lap was a 130.7 and his out-lap was a 138.3. Whereas Gregor Hutu's laps were a 130.1 and a 137.2. We can see it there again. Hugo Luis's out-lap is a second slower than Gregor Hutu. Is that something where Hutu is really gaining that vital margin over Hugo Luis? And is that something Hugo really needs to improve on for the rest of this season?
Well, the outlets here, I think, are quite comparable. I know Hugo did get caught up in a lot of traffic, and we actually saw drivers trying to pass him as he after he exited the pit lane. As right now we have, speaking of, we have Jake Sturgios who's trying to make a battle of it, chasing down Hugo. But I don't know if it was quite comparable, as if it's something Hugo did wrong, or if he just got really unfortunate with the way the traffic played out. As we see Sturgios making a pass on Hugo, that'll put Sturgios third, assuming Sturgios doesn't pit this time, which I'm sure Hugo would be slightly annoyed with if he saw Sturgios make that move and then pit that lap. As nope, Sturgios stayed out, so Sturgios has stayed out longer than anyone else, I believe, other than Rocco Barone, and that's gonna be something that's really interesting to watch over the course of this race, as we have Isaac Price right now trying to reel in Hugo Louis, as he was a half-second faster that last lap.
Stefan Michaels still not actually come down pit road as well. But he is another driver that's actually made up a lot of positions in this race. But iWCGPS has actually dropped back a few positions after his pit stops. But you've got to remember the drivers that haven't actually pitted. There is 3 of them running in the top 10. Rocco Barone, Jake Sturgios, and Stefan Michaels, all drivers not to pit. We see actually a big off there from Martin Kroenke. Martin Kroenke there, really big off. I was just actually about to mention him, that he jumped iWCGPS into the pit road, but now he's just lost that position. He's also just lost a position out to his teammate Martin Patilla. Really strange incident there for Martin Kroenke. He ran very wide. I think that was through turn 4 and 5A. Very strange to see there, Randy.
It wasn't the fact that he got wide that messed up his, that had him come around. He caught too much curb as he apexed, and it just upset the car, and he couldn't hold on to it, and he oversteered just a little bit. He didn't come around completely, but he mostly just got off the track just to get out of the way. Actually going off the track didn't lose him too much time, over the course of the whole incident itself. He just wanted to make sure he didn't take out his teammate. I'm sure it was the last thing that the My 3 ID guys would have ever wanted. But yeah, definitely unfortunate there for Martin. Lost him a good bit of time. He's going to be looking to fight back now. As we got Rocco Barone in the pit.
Yep, Rocco Barone now exiting that pit lane. He is going to be the first of them 3 drivers that have not pitted yet. So Jake Sturgios will move up into that second position. He's obviously going to try and help out his teammate Isaac Price. You can't say team orders won't be enforced, because they really will. Isaac though, strong race again, only 2 seconds, should we say, behind Hugo Luis, which is a really strong turn for Isaac, especially being able to mix it with the top guys. Normally this championship has just been Hugo and Gregor all the way, but really nice to see some other drivers coming into the series and giving it a little bit of flavour and a little bit of spice. We've seen Oleg Kara give it a bit of spice, taking a race win at Road America. iWCGPS also adding it a bit of spice and taking a race win. So very interesting to see if Isaac could try and do the same and add a little bit more flavour and give them Inex Racing guys the momentum they used to have, because they were a really dominant force at one point, not only in the WCS but in other series as well. But they seem to have taken a back seat to some of the teams like 3ID Motorsports. So very interesting to see.
Oh, definitely, and we talked about him before, but Stephen Michaels is again staying out, as well as Jake Sturgios. Stephen Michaels is someone who's been kind of known to run on quite a bit higher fuel loads than a lot of other drivers. From some of the people I talked to before the race when I was asking about fuel strategy, he was someone that was mentioned. But Jake Sturgios out there in second. He's gone as long as anybody. He's out there in P2, and he's starting to near the point of the kind of lap you would, or the kind of the point where a one-stopper would be stopping. His lap times haven't been that far off from some of the front guys, and he's only about, well, even though Gregor has stopped, he's only 6 seconds back. But I think if Sturgios is on a one-stopper, he could be putting himself in fantastic position here for the closing stages of this race.
Yeah, really interesting strategy. We didn't see him do actually too quick throughout the first stages of the race, throughout the first 20 laps, as we now just go over the line to take lap number 31. So very interesting to see whether that is that one-stop strategy coming out. But drivers all going to be on that 2-stop strategy. So very interesting to see again, but we've not actually seen any 2-stop strategies work at tracks. As Jake Sturgios comes down pit road, he actually comes down pit road now. It'll be interesting to see if Stefan Michaels follow him as well, as he now comes through the last turn, 17A. He stays out. Stefan Michaels will stay out, so he is now going to be our only car that has been down pit road, Randy. So Very interesting to see from there, but Jake Sturgis, he's still not out of the pit road. He's just been passed by Jacola. Jacola will get his 6th position back. Andrei Boccia will go back into 7th. Kroenke back into 8th. Marty Patillo, though, very good strategy by him. Another 3ID guy running behind his teammates Kroenke and Boccia. He's now up into P9. I'm sure he's been down pit road, though, Randy.
Probably. There hasn't been too many people that haven't stopped here. I think Stephen Michaels, like we said, has been the only one. But, so yeah, but it's going to be interesting to see how that battle, worked itself out over the course of the race.
Yeah, Stefan Michaels still the only driver not on track that has not pitted. But that means Aleski Jacola is currently... Actually, we have just actually had word as well, Patilla has not pitted. So that is the reason he is still running in that top 10. But Rocco Barone, very good moves by him. He's out in P10 after his pit stop. Jake Sturgis back down into P11. So once they come around, the field should be back to how it was before we had that first set of pit stops. So very interesting to see now after that first set of pit stops, who is making the move, because Andrei Boccia has actually fallen off of the back of Enzo Benito. He's now actually fallen behind Jacola. Jacola really having a strong event so far. Teammate took an early exit, Oli Picara, so he's going to have to make it up for that Glacier Racing team. But very interesting to see if he can push forward and maybe get into that top 3 and get on the podium. But it looks like they're locked out so far with Isaac Price, Hugo Luis and Gregor Hutu.
Oh yeah, you're talking about making moves. You know who's really been making a move? Gregor Hutu. Before the pit stops, it was about a 2-second gap to Hugo. After the pit stops, it's up to an 8.5-second gap between the first and second place drivers. Gregor is absolutely on the move right now, and Hugo is, if he's gonna want to do anything about this, he's gonna have to find something. I'm sure he's driving as hard as he can, but right now it's just not enough. Gregor just continually stretching the gap.
Yeah, really, really great racing by Gregor Hutu. We've seen him back in dominant form after he took that second win at Phillip Island. A really great race by him. He managed to get that pit stop to perfection. And that is what won him that race. That went right down to the wire last week as well. He had a 12-second lead over the second place driver. So very, very nice to see him back in form. Hugo Luis really not having anything to answer to Gregor Hutu's form though, is he, Randy? He's not had any say to what Hutu's doing. Hutu is just stretching and stretching and stretching. But Hugo Luis just can't seem to answer back.
Yeah, it's somewhat unfortunate. Right now we have Marty Patella in the pits for his first stop. Looks like a potential one-stopper from here. He did 32 laps on this stint. To get to the finish, it's going to be only another 26. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see if he's definitely going to be on a one-stopper here at this point, and it's going to be very, very interesting to see how it works out.
Yeah, only now 25 laps. We are halfway through this race now, just as they cross the line. Gregor Hutu will come around this time to take lap number 34. So still could be another set of pit stops in it for some drivers. They could just take a splash and go, or some of them could go to the end on the heavier stint. They could be running this second time by, but looking down into that P3 position, Isaac Price, 2-second gap between him and Hugo Luis. Hugo Luis will be trying to stretch that though and get away and trying to catch up Gregor Hutu, but it's not looking like it. I said a minute ago, he's not been able to answer Gregor Hutu's challenge, and Hutu really is dominant. There's no other word for it except from dominance.
Definitely, but Hugo's gonna be looking to try to stretch this gap out as he does just a little bit this time by. But I think Isaac is gonna be digging hard. He sees who it is, and you know who he knows who it is in front of him, and you know where they're both running. I think he's gonna be pushing really, really hard, trying to get himself a second place finish in this series. And it'll be a completely fantastic drive from the NX driver of Isaac Price.
Yep, as we see Stefan Michaels there now come off of pit road. He is the last driver to come off of pit lane, so that's going to then put him back into, I think, he's going to be actually into the P13 battle. So that'll be with Jake Sturgis, Alo Muller, and Antonio Heglin. That is going to put him into a real big battle there for the top 10 position. So we're going to have a hot battle to the end of the race as well. Rocco Barone, really good moves. He's now up into P8 after everyone files back down. Martin Kroenke up into 6th position as well. Andrei Boccia 7th. Leski Usiakola is in 5th after that as well. So very good pit stops from some drivers. Enzo Benito managed to stretch his gap as well between the 5th place driver of Jacola. That gap is now a 7-second gap. So very strong race from Enzo Benito from what we saw earlier on when he was battling with Andre Boccia.
Definitely. We see now Andre Boccia is battling with his teammate Martin Franke. I'm sure they're not going to be fighting too hard with one another, being teammates. As far as he gives themselves a decent gap and just try to log as many quick laps as I can, trying to catch Alexi. But racing to see towards the closing stages, team orders might fade just a little bit.
Them drivers both definitely having a really strong showing in this season so far. Both really high up in the championship, both within the top 10. So very interesting to see if there is actually any team orders come in from the 3ID Motorsports guys, as Stefan Michaels actually drops into the 12th position now. He has been dropped by Jake Sturgis. As we get word someone else is down pit road now. Get confirmation that is Paulo. I'm not going to pronounce. Paulo Mola, I thought it was, but I didn't want to butcher his name. But that is our last of the pit stops now. That is definitely the last guy to take it down. But we have an off here. Martin Kroenke's run wide again.
He didn't run wide. He caught oversteer coming out of the oak tree, and he spun way out in the no man's land between the run from the S's to oak tree and the oak tree down the back stretch. He was a good 30-40 yards off the track, almost near the flag marshal stand actually, and that's a huge mistake out of Martin. He lost a lot of time there, and I believe that's his second mistake on the day. I think he had an off earlier as well.
Yeah, that is his second mistake of the day. That allows Rocco Barone to move up into the P7 position. But that also allows Andre Boccia to move up into P6. Kroenke will file in at the 9th position. So, very interesting racing so far. Someone we've not generally seen in the top 10s either this season so far is Berrezzini. He's had a really strong race so far. No, not someone we've really mentioned in this race so far, but his quickest lap of the race was on lap 34. He did a 1:21.5. Comparing that to the lap times of Gregor Hutu and Hugo Luis, Gregor Hutu's quickest lap was a 1:20.4, and that was lap 22. But he's now getting back to them sort of pace times, Randy. He's done a 1:20.892 was his last lap. He now comes through 17A. Then he'll come through onto the home straight. Down there with that massive headwind. Can't be helping him when he's on his own. What lap time will Gregor Hutu be able to put in? 21.1. So he seems to be slowing down, speeding up, slowing down, speeding up. Is that fuel saving coming into strategy?
Very well could be, as we saw. I mean, if he is fuel saving, he was able to match the pace of Hugo, as we're getting word that there's a fantastic battle forming on track right now between 12th to 14th. That can be with Michaels, Sturgios, and Higlin. And yeah, these drivers right now are gearbox and nose cone right now. As we're seeing Sturgios is trying to make a move. He didn't quite have the space. Oh, Sturgios is off.
Oh, very big incident there. He's nearly just come back across the track and taken Stefan Michaels out. That was through 17. Wow. That's going to be under investigation by iRacing stewards. That you can't be doing that coming back across the track. He's just missed his braking spot. He's nearly come back, and wow, we'll get a replay of that on your screens in a minute, ladies and gentlemen. But big mistake there from Jake Sturgis, especially when he was running up in that P12 position. Very silly
Definitely,
there, Randy.
that was good driving from Michael to be able to miss that. I don't know if he'll be under. I don't know if Sturgios will be under scrutiny there from the iRacing officials, because if you miss the braking zone there, you just get on the grass, and once that happens, there's not anything you can do about slowing that car down. You're going to go flinging across the grass and back onto the track. So definitely a silly mistake there from Sturgios, and I'm sure he's picking himself for it, but I wouldn't call it negligent in any way.
Definitely not, as we now see some more retirements come into effect. We now have 7 drivers retired from the race. That is Oli Bakara, Patrick Holzman, Jeremy Bouteloup, Ilka Hepala, Mogar Filo, Jonas Nikaran. As we've actually just had word as well, Martin Kroenke has just made the move on Rocco Barone. We'll get a replay of that on your screen soon. That was through 17, then 17A, then back onto the home straight. He's really managed to recover after that spin he had on the exit of Oak Tree Bend. He's now only got that one position to make up to his teammate Andre Botchler, but he is 10 seconds behind his teammate. That's going to be a very interesting battle to see whether he can get up there. But some guy making the move, iWCGPS, he's really closing that gap in on Enzo Benito in the 4th position. Now the gap is just down to 2 seconds on the racetrack. Isaac Price also managed to keep that gap between him and Hugo Luis at only 2 seconds. The guy really stretching that gap is Gregor Hutu. He's now got a 10-second lead. As he crosses the line this time though, we'll have to see when Hugo Luis crosses the line as well to see if that gap has extended, as he's just run a 1:20.8. So very consistent times there from Gregor Hutu, but Hugo Luis now comes across the line and the gap's down to a 9.6 seconds, so he has actually decreased the gap. Hugo Luis, only running a 1:21.0, so very interesting on them lap times. Gregor Hutu seems the more consistent.
Definitely, he's definitely more consistent, and he's definitely faster as well, as we saw. I think Price ran a 21.5, so he lost 4/10 to Hugo. So this is definitely working out. It could be a very interesting race at the end. I think at this point, unless Hutu makes a pretty big mistake, I think Hutu's just going to continue to just run away with it as he is. But this battle between Hugo and Isaac is going to be very interesting. Hugo has always sort of been, we talked about it a couple times this race, always been somewhat bad on the pit stops. And if Isaac is able to capitalize on that, plus Isaac stayed out a few laps later.
Yeah, as we see actually a lot of drivers just come down pit road there. Robin Friscops, Antolane Hegwin, Joni Tamala, and also Silvero Barazzini all coming down pit road there. Very interesting. We thought we'd seen the end of the pit stop. Sorry folks, obviously not. We've seen drivers managing to do some massive stints. That must have been like what Jeremy Bouteloup was doing, but he was the guy that was making it work the best for him. He was running in that P5 position before he took an early exit from this race when he made a big mistake on the exit of turn number 17A. So that will be his race over. But very interesting stuff happening up here, up near the front of the field. Not something we generally see is Enzo Benito running up there, which is it's very interesting to see. It's nice to see as well different faces. Again, I will mention it, different faces running in that top 5, top 10 positions. Look through the field though, and there's not really many battles going on, Randy. It's all seems to be single file, follow the leader traffic now, as the closest gap on track is between our 4th and 5th place drivers, Enzo Benito and iWCGPS, and that gap is 1.6 seconds.
Yes, and Giacola has been on the move. The last time by, he took 3/10 out of Benito, and I think he's going to be trying to do the same here. This on, these next few laps, trying to close that gap. It'll be if he's not trying to close that gap, I don't know what he's doing, because he's definitely quicker than Benito. From the looks of it, he took a pretty good chunk of time out of Oak Tree that time by. It might have just been me.
Another driver though, mentioning Oak Tree, last lap by, took an early exit to that as well. Stefan Michaels, he managed to stretch that pit stop. He made some really good moves. He got up into P7 during the peak of his race, but he took an exit to Oak Tree as well. We'll try and get a replay of that on your screens. He just did the same as what Ollie Picara did and ran a little too wide, and as soon as you do that, the car just goes around. So that is Stefan Michaels' race done and over. He has retired from this race. That goes down to another one of the drivers now. We now have 8 retirements, which is quite a big number of retirements really, Randy, for this track. I wouldn't be expecting as many.
For this track, it's hard to say. VIR is definitely one of those difficult circuits, especially with Oak Tree. The surface in some places, especially with the curbs, is quite bumpy. 8 isn't completely unheard of, but it's not exactly the greatest thing in the world. We're talking about Enzo Benito versus Giacola. Last lap, Giacola was able to take 9/10 of a second out of the lead of Enzo Benito, and he's right up to the gearbox ground. Benito, as he has to lift out of it at the end of the S, is trying to get himself a good run to the Oak Tree, entering the Oak Tree, being careful not to run too wide. Gets a good exit. He's going to be in the draft here. Benito now going down this back straight. Let's see if he's able to get close enough to make a move. I don't think he's going to be close enough this time, but he's setting himself up, and he's definitely a pretty good chunk quicker than Benito by the looks of it.
iWCGPS, someone definitely you cannot rule out of making a fabulous pass. I emphasize that so much, but our race leader comes down pit road again. This is the second set of pit stops. We're on about lap 42. We only have 16 laps to run, sorry. Hugo Luis, though, did not come in. Hugo Luis will take our temporary lead. Isaac Price is in as well. Enzo Benito stayed out. Also, Andre Botchler stayed out. Alessia Usiakola came down pit road, though. Martin Cronke, also another one of the guys not Martin Cronke, sorry. That is actually his teammate of Andre Botchler, sorry. We've actually already gone through that. But very interesting to see these second pit stops come out, though.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting the way this pans out. Hugo, as we saw, blink first on that first set of pit stops, and he lost quite a bit of time to Gregor. It's going to be interesting to see if he's able to gain some of that time back, because he didn't hook the Oak Tree trot quite as he would have wanted to this lap. That's definitely going to hurt him, and it's going to affect him all the way down this back stretch.
Yuhu Abe now as well rejoining the track back. He will be in about the P13 position. Also getting word of other drivers coming down pit road. We'll have to get you that confirmation of what drivers are actually coming down pit road. Leon Verges is the guy now leaving the pit road.
As Hugo pits that pit lane. Sorry to interrupt you, but Hugo drives past that pit lane again. He's staying out, and that's really what he needs to do. Gregor only had a 1-lap advantage the last time by. If Hugo's able to go for a few laps, being able to drive with light fuel while Gregor's on this heavy fuel road, Hugo's take quite a bit of time out of Gregor here, and it's exactly what he needs to do.
Gregor is in traffic though, so that is something that could play into this race as well. Isaac Price come down. He's not actually come down pit road. He's been overtaken. So whether he's made a mistake.
I think Price pit with you two.
I must be missing some of this. My eyesight is wearing. It's been a long day, but Isaac Price, yes, he has come down pit road twice. So that is him into P5 position. So he's not really lost many positions. He's lost actually a position to Andre Botchler though. So that's very interesting. Martin Cronke now also coming out of pit road, but the interesting thing up front is Hugo Luis. Will he drive by pit road again as he now comes into turn 16, turn 17, 17A, then onto the home straight? Will he pass that pit lane, or will he decide to stay out? If he comes down pit road this time, he's got a 15-second lead. Nope, he stays out. This is very interesting. Will he be able to stretch that gap that Gregor made over him? Is that the whole strategy we were on about earlier, Randy?
It's definitely going to be beneficial if you can. Sometimes it's best to be quicker earlier. Sometimes it's best to be quicker later in the race. Right now, Hugo's banking on being quicker later in the race. He's going to be setting himself up with a shorter pit stop, and let's see what the last times are. Gregor just ran a 121.7 when his fuel road. Last lap by, Hugo ran a 120.6, so over a second and a tenth quicker. So this is going to be one of those things where if Hugo can keep this up, he's only down by about 8 or 9 seconds. If he can set himself up with a shorter pit stop as well as run a second or so a lap quicker, if he can do that for a few laps, he's going to be right back in this battle with Gregor here at the end, and that's going to make for a fantastic 10 laps. So.
Definitely will, as we see Andre Botchler now come out of pit lane. That is his second pit stop. Jake Sturgis opting to go by as well. He did one of the longer stints we've seen around this track, but definitely things always taking a change around here at Virginia International Raceway with the pit stops and with the racing. We've seen some incredible racing and some really strange pit stop strategies. Some drivers trying to take that one stop, some taking the 2-stop strategy. So very interesting to see, but everything up front seems to be drivers on the 2-stop strategy. As Hugo always comes down pit lane.
So we're going to need to watch. Gregor right now is at the very end of the back straightaway, coming down the roller coaster right now, and it's going to be interesting to see. Hugo is not yet in his box. As Gregor's entering the back straightaway, and it's going to be very, very close. Gregor coming down now, and I think Gregor's going to jump him, but it's going to be interesting to see by how much. And by looking at it, it's going to be by quite a bit.
Yes, Hugo Luis still not out of the pit.
That is a very, very long pit stop, and he almost spins on the exit. I don't know. That may have been a mistake on Hugo with fuel. That seems like it was an awful lot of fuel for as much of the race that is left.
Yeah, something we saw at Road America as well with Hugo Luis. He took too much fuel there, but very interesting there how long it took him to pit. That was a 14-second pit stop, which is very significant compared to the likes of Gregor Hutu. Their pit stops were a lot quicker. Only a 9.8 second pit stop for some of the drivers that did go in as well. So very interesting to see, as we got word Isaac Price did go off and take an exit of the track. He is still running out on track though, but the gap between him and Aleski Usiakola has closed down to only 1 second. So could Isaac's dreams of his first ever WCS podium be slowly fading away, as we've just got over 10 laps to run of this race now? He's going to have to put up a big fight against Aleski Usiakola, because he is probably one of the quickest guys in the WCS at the moment, Randy.
Oh yeah, Isaac's probably just maybe get a little happy, maybe a little flustered. He's running as well as he is right now, but he just needs to keep his cool right now. If he can keep his cool, run good clean laps, he's probably looking at a podium right now, as long as he can stay ahead of Yakola. And the gap he had on Yakola at one point, he should be able to pull away if he can stay calm. As right now, Enzo Benito is in the pit lane. As we're getting a replay of Price's spin coming up on his spins right now. And he was getting pressured from Rocco Barone actually when he made his spin.
Yeah, Rocco Barone, actually, we're not noticing that, has actually been able to pass him. He was one of the late runners, only on that one-stop strategy, we think. So very interesting to see, actually, if Isaac's already lost out on that podium position that he has been waiting for many races. He's been a very consistent driver, running in the top 10, top 5 at some tracks, but not having that little edge of luck that all drivers need to be consistent and finish the race. He took an early exit at Phillip Island as well, when he did actually have an accident with Yuhu Abe at that track. So that was very unfortunate to him. But Jake Sturgios, his teammate, running back in P8, another one of the drivers only on a one-stop strategy. Martin Kroenke, a two-stop strategy, running P9, only half a second behind Jake Sturgios. So this could be an interesting battle as well for the P8 position. But P10 and the top 10, I'd say, is all sorted out at the moment, really, Randy, unless we see any more pit stops.
Yeah, I'd say so. There's a few interesting battles forming up on track right now. Between Price and Yakola is probably the big one, but right now, even after, going back to, our effective top two, Louis and Hutu. Hutu is, he was about 9 seconds down, and we thought he was way off the pace, but now he's down to a 14.5 second gap to Hutu. I don't know. I don't know if he got his fuel numbers wrong or if he just missed the strategy, but it just seemed like that last pit stop was, the last pit stop was what, 14 seconds? And we're looking at a 14-second gap right now. He could have been much, much closer had he been able to, I don't know, like I said, I don't know if he got his fuel wrong or what, but that just seems like it was a huge stop for him.
Really was a long stop for him, but Rocco Barone all over the back. He moves to the inside as they come through the S-bends. Hugo Luis will just allow him through. Rocco Barone obviously on the one-stop strategy, on the lighter fuel tank towards the end of this race. He has just allowed him through, so Hugo Luis will lose out that second position. Very interesting from him. He's not having the race of his time again, but will he be racing for them championship points? Alex Simpson, one of the late runners to come down pit road as well. But Hugo, we must say, Randy, what is happening with him? He went from brilliance to, I don't know what to say really. He's just dropped off the pace big time. His laps have really taken a big dip throughout this race. His quickest lap was a 120.6. Comparing that to Gregor Hutu's lap, the quickest lap, a 120.4, that's 0.2 of a second different, which makes a big difference lap after lap.
It definitely does, but yeah, it's definitely interesting to see. Hugo's someone who's normally seen as the one who's able to really take it to Gregor, but it just doesn't seem like he's really able to do that this season. He did get the one race win, but this race he just seems like he's just fallen way back. I don't know if he's gotten really bad luck with traffic or something else, or maybe he had another fueling problem again like he did at Road America, I believe it was. But for him to be having this bad luck like he is, it definitely isn't going to sit well for his championship standing.
But looking at Rocco Barone's lap times as well, we mentioned Hutu's and Hugo Luis's 0.6 and Hutu's 0.4. Rocco Barone's quickest lap time, on the other hand, though, is only a 121.1. So that is a 0.7 of a second difference to Gregor Hutu, which is incredible. And he's running in P2 as well, and he's actually leaving Hugo Luis in his dust, as Hugo Luis's gap between him and Rocco Barone is now at about 2 seconds on the racetrack, which is quite incredible to say the least. But another gap that has actually closed up big time is Isaac Price and Enzo Benito. We were thinking Aleksej Usiakola was going to be able to close in on Isaac Price, but we've had that wrong. Isaac Price is now within 0.2 of a second on Enzo Benito as Rocco Barone actually does come down pit road. Hugo Lewis will not be happy about that. That held him up a lot on the racetrack when he allowed him to go by. So that will then shake the grid back up. Isaac Price will move into 4th. Aleksej Usiakola up into 5th. Enzo Benito will sit in 3rd. But Isaac Price all over the back of Benito. But both of these drivers have taken that second pit stop. So very interesting to see if Isaac will be able to get his first ever WCS podium. Or if he's just lost out by that tiny margin. But 10 laps to go now in the race. And everything up front seems to be settled, in my opinion, Randy.
I wouldn't say that quite yet. We have Enzo Benito, Isaac Price, and Aleksej Usiakola all within about a second and a half, 2 seconds of each other. Benito and Price are, you know, rear wing to front nose cone right now, and Isaac Price really wants that first podium in this WCS. You can tell by the way he's driving. He's driving hard. He's throwing the car out there. He's trying to get as much out of it as he possibly can. He's going to be in the draft right now with Benito as he heads down into the corner after this long back straight. Let's see if he's able to get close and make a move. Doesn't look like he's gonna be able to this time, but he is just gonna cut down on that gap. As right now he's right on the gearbox of Benito is what he needs. A little bit of a wiggle there as he's on the brakes, but not too bad. He's able to hold on to it. Now coming down the roller coaster, down through the final corners and into turn 1. He's about as close as he's been. And I think in the next couple laps we're gonna see him trying to make moves here on Benito in the closing stages of the race.
Isaac Price definitely the lighter of the car. He came down 2 laps before Enzo Benito. The back marking car there of Lasse Brun Hansen just moving out of the way through turn 1 into that short turn number 2, turn 3, 4, 5 and 5A, all really close within each other. Really set of bends that not really are suitable for passing, really, Randy. The only place is decent really for passing around here, shall we say, that you can pull it off safely is really into Oak Tree and into turn number 1 are the 2 major passing spots, because you also have that draft as well. But something out front at the moment, Randy, is a 21-second lead for Gregor Hutsu, so he's really upped that fuel strategy and upped that pace throughout the end of this race, and that gap is really starting to show. Yeah,
that gap from Gregor to Hugo, it's just like disappeared. I mean, we saw in the early stages Hugo and Gregor were, you know, only a couple seconds apart from one another, while everyone else seemed to sort of fall back. But right now it just seems like Hugo just dropped off the face of the earth in terms of pace, and everyone else has just gotten either better or just, you know, kind of able to hold their pace.
Right now, as we say that though, Randy, Isaac Price does get by Enzo Benito up the hill into turn number 15. He is now going to move back into that P3 position, and to say the least, they can now see Hugo Luis in their sights. We'll see what the gap is when they cross the line. The gap is down to only 1 second on the racetrack. This is incredible, Randy. Them drivers could be pushing for that P2 position. What has happened to Hugo Luis here? Has he taken too much fuel again like Road America? Has he made that mistake again?
His pace, his laps are about 2 seconds slower than Isaac's are, and I don't think Hugo was in any traffic at all that last lap. No, he wasn't. So there was no traffic at all, and he was 2 seconds off of Isaac Price, and Isaac in the meantime was passing Enzo Benito. So right now I think Hugo made another huge misstep and forgot to check his fuel before he pit, and it filled his car up. Because to be off 2 seconds with no damage, that's the only explanation.
We just get a replay now on your screens of Isaac Price making that pass look easy on Enzo Benito. Look to the inside, he held his line and straight up through, and he was away really. He's now stretching that gap to Enzo Benito and Aleksej Usiakola as well, as he tries to close in on that second position. This could be his first ever WCS podium. I will say it again, Randy. First ever WCS podium. That is a big achievement for some drivers if he can make this work. If he can get second though, he is going to be over the moon with himself. But really solid drive from Isaac and the rest of the iNext Racing guys. Jake Sturgios back in P8. He is the only driver competing in both the NASCAR iRacing Peak Anti-Freeze Series and the iRacing World Championship Series as well. So very interesting to see how he managed to juggle them times and still be as quick as everyone else in both series. But very good running from both the iNext Racing team.
Oh, definitely. And you're talking about huge achievements from Isaac Price and iNext. This is going to be a huge blunder from Hugo with his championship standings, because right now, not only is he in the grasp of Isaac Price and going down to 3rd, Enzo Benito is right there, and so is Aleksej Usiakola. That's going to put Hugo down to 5th. So instead of getting P2 points, he's very well, I think, going to end up finishing P3 as last lap. All those other drivers ran 21s. Hugo Luis ran a 22.8. His car just doesn't have the pace. As right now we see Isaac Price breathing past Hugo on this straightaway. He didn't even have much of the draft. Enzo Benito is going to be looking to as well. He's going to be on the outside for his left-hand flick, and Hugo just gives it to him. He knows what he did, and he just let all three drivers by in the span of a straightaway.
Wow, Hugo, big problems for him on the track. Don't know what the problem is with him, but his car is taking too much fuel again, like Road America. He's off pace.
Yeah, I don't think Hugo's problem is on the track. I just think Hugo's problem is in the pits. That's where we see him making all his blunders. On track, his pace is actually quite close to Hugo's. It's not hugely off, maybe a couple tenths, but the way it's been, just where he's losing has been in the pit lane. And if he's not careful, he could lose another spot to Andre Bocher, and that'll put him out of the top 5 for the first time this season, I believe.
No, second time this season that could be. He did take that 22nd position 2 weeks ago at Watkins Glen. His last lap time was a 1:24, so very, very bad showing for Hugo Luis at the moment. But Watkins Glen, he didn't have the luck 2 weeks ago either. He took that early exit from the race, and he tried to manage to keep going round and round and round, but he just couldn't get that pace back, and he ended up finishing P22 after his retirement. The first ever, we say, retirement we've seen from Hugo Luis. First ever, and that's not something you normally say about a driver of his caliber who wins championships on iRacing like this.
Oh, definitely. Hugo is someone who's always been good at finishing races, but I say enough about talking about Hugo. Right now we have from second place to fourth place in battle, where the cars are separated by about a second and a half. We need to be talking about this. Isaac Price, Enzo Benito, and Alexi Giacola. The gap between Isaac and Benito is about 6/10, and the gap between Benito and Giacola is about another 5/10, and it's going to be there literally nose cone to a gearbox right now, fighting for this second, third, and fourth spot. So we got Isaac Price, as he said, going for his first podium in the WCS, looking at possibly his first P2 in the WCS as well. Enzo Benito is a very experienced guy. He's up there battling for a podium as well. Estes Giacola, he's got to win once this season. He wants to see if he can get himself a second best today. But it looks like either Price is pulling away just a little bit as we head through the S's and getting ready to head down into the Oak Tree.
Just as well there, I just checked on Gregor Hutu. A few things coming up in chat actually about Gregor in traffic, and he's in major traffic right now. He's obviously got that 24-second lead over Isaac Price and the trailing field, but his lap times have really taken a big turn from lap number 43 after his pit stop down into 53. He's only been doing 121, 122s. He also has the trailing cars of Matthias Egger in front of him, also Alex Simpson, Dion Verges, and Robin Friscops. A couple of iRacing, iNext Racing guys in there as well, but apparently Gregor Hutu has sent a message to Matthias saying, can you allow me by? But remember, blue flags are not mandatory in this. It is respectful to let someone by, but it's not necessary, Randy.
Possibly, but the way it's looking, I think Gregor might be just letting them race it out, the way the gaps are. I mean, Hugo has a 30-second lead, almost. It's down to 23 now, but it's not enough time to where he's going to lose enough to possibly lose the lead.
Zaleski Giacola gets around Enzo Benito. That was into turn 17. Replay of that pass on your screens will be coming up in a minute, but another textbook pass though, Randy.
Definitely, that's been sort of the premier passing spot we've been seeing right now, and then sort of the advantage of that is whoever you're passing kind of does have to give quite a bit of pace. And it's going to be interesting to see if Alexi is able to pull up on Isaac at all. But Isaac has sort of, he stretched out a 1 second gap. It was very, very close the last time around.
Yeah, really strange to see how that gap is pulling away when two drivers sort of battle. They get that gap. The guy in front really does get a big advantage and a big margin. I reckon that gap could be about 1.5, maybe even 2 seconds now. But Alessio Giacola making a really good pass there on Enzo Benito. Enzo Benito also ran wide on the exit of Oak Tree Bend. onto the back straight, so that didn't help his chances of being in the draft of Aleksej Usiakola on the back straight to try and get that position back. But we must say as well, Andrei Bociola has managed to get past his teammate of Hugo Luis. Hugo Luis now goes back into P6 position. Rocco Barone will be looking all over the back of him though. There's only a 1 second gap between him and Hugo Luis. This is incredible for Hugo. He must have some major car problems.
Yeah, Barone was about 8/10 quicker than Hugo this last lap. And you can just hear it in the car if you listen. Hugo's car is constantly at a lower rev. So I don't know if he just took too little fuel and he's saving, or if he took too much and his car just isn't pulling like everyone else's is. But Hugo is definitely falling like a rock right now, and a P7 is just going to be something he's not looking forward to. But going back to this battle between the second through fourth, Enzo is really trying to gain some of that time back, and Nicola is obviously trying to catch up on Isaac as we got. I believe that's Jake Sturdios jumping out of the way. No, it's John Niezaleski. Another, again, great sportsmanship, letting these guys race it out, trying to stay out of the way as much as possible. He knows his race is pretty much done. It's just a matter of logging laps. He's 3 laps down. Huge shout out for letting these front guys battle it out and hopping out of the way.
Yeah, we must mention as they cross the line now, there is only 3 seconds separating Isaac down to Enzo Benito. So that is Isaac Price, Aleksej Usiakola and Enzo Benito. But then Andrei Bociola sits 3 seconds behind Benito. So I think that battle there for the top 4 is fixed and done, and these 3 are going to be the ones that are going to finish in your top 4 positions. But where they finish is down to the last couple of laps, as we're now on lap 57. There's only 1 lap to go next time by. Gregor Hutu will take the white flag as he comes down to the back straight now. He's still got the traffic in front of him though, Randy, which he's allowed to actually race, and he's dropped off because that gap between him and Isaac Price has decreased by 4 seconds.
Yeah, it was said that there were messages in the chat where Gregor said to let the front guy, or the guys ahead of him right now, not for position but on track, battle out. Those guys are having a fantastic battle actually. So as right now we have Gregor coming down this home straightaway to take his white flag. Got a 20-second gap. Should be pretty much a breeze from here unless he makes a huge mistake. But right now we have a fantastic battle between Diane Bergers, Alex Simpson, and Matt Steger. Robin Fritzkoff is up there a little bit, but he's a bit clearer, and I don't think he's gonna be too involved in it. But it's gonna be a fantastic battle for P18 through the top 14, actually, if you count Christian Lorente.
Yeah, really good there. But one guy we've got to mention as well, just as we are on the last lap of this race, Anton Hegwin. He is the only driver to do a one-stop strategy, and he's running P13, so it really has worked very well for him, as Isaac Price actually managing to stretch that gap between him and Aleksej Usiakola as they now come through the S-bends under the bridge, and then they'll go back into another set of S's before Oak Tree Bend, and that's where Gregor Hutu has just come out of, down to the back straight. He will now come up into that final set of turns, 14, 14A, 15, 16, 17 and 17A, because we're American and we decide to name our bends with numbers and letters. But he now comes through 17 down into 17A. He will come onto the home straight. Gregor Hutu, he will be victorious in Virginia. He takes a checkered flag. He takes the 3rd race win on the trot, 4th win of the season. He is a dominant force. We look back into 2nd place. That will be Isaac Price, guaranteed. He's through 17A now onto the home straight. Isaac Price takes his first ever WCS podium. Incredible racing from him. Aleksej Usiakola comes home in 3rd position. Enzo Benito will also come home in 4th position. Great racing from them guys all day. We've seen them also always in the top 10 throughout this whole race. It'll be close to see who comes home 5th though. Andrei Bociola will get that from his teammate of Hugo Luis, who dropped back very much in the last section of the race. Rocco Barone will come home for 7th place, closely followed by Jake Sturgios, Martin Kroenke and Yuhu Abe will now come across the line. That will round out your top 10 positions, Randy. Brilliant racing from all the drivers.
Yeah, that was some phenomenal racing. The lead, unfortunately, what was looking like it could have been a fantastic battle seemed to be cut short, I think, a little bit, but there for like P2 down about P8, P9, P10, and even deeper in the field, there was some fantastic racing going on. So, but gotta give shout outs to Gregor. He had
Still some battles on the track though now as we come through. 14th position will go to Christian Llorente, 15th Robin Friscott, 16th Dion Verges, and 17th Matthias Egger. That was the battle that were in front of the Gregor Hutu race winner. They were the guys that are battling out in front. And what can you say really? There's been battles all over the track, but then we've had some single car action as well. So it's been very interesting to see really, and it's been a dominant force though again by Gregor Hutu.
Yeah, definitely. Gregor definitely showed why he's been so dominant for so long. I mean, it's like he was on another planet compared to everyone else. And I mean, he had an 18.5 second gap to the rest of the field, and he was letting the lap cars in front of him race. He was slowing down by about a couple seconds, every single lap to let those guys get out, because he knows he has such a big gap. There's no point in him risking his race trying to get by. And there's no point in really ruining the fun the guys in front of him are having. So it's just a smarter decision to just chill. But fantastic race as well for Isaac Price, getting P2, his first podium in the WCS, and finishing second to Hutu is a wonderful finish for him. Definitely, although Hutu was running away with it, it's probably nice being the best of the rest.
Yeah, definitely Isaac. He'll be over the moon with that. I've raced with Isaac on other simulators and on iRacing, and he said he's really proud to be in the WCS, and he said he'd be even prouder when he takes actually a podium or a race victory, and he did come close to that today. He did lead a lap, his first ever lap he's led in the WCS, but his first ever podium. Hats off to him, congratulations, but major hats off and round of applause to Gregor Hutu. Absolutely incredible. So we're going to take a break, and then hopefully we'll be back with some driver interviews after these 4 short messages.
Fans, it's time for those most famous words in motorsports. Drivers, start your engines!
Michael Conti comes up at a corner number 4 in the checkered flag. He wins his first NASCAR iRacing.
And we are back here now live with our race. We've not actually got our race winner here, sorry Gregor Hutu, but we're back here at Virginia International Raceway, and we have a few drivers here with us now. We have Isaac Price taking his first ever WCS podium. He must be over the moon with that one, Isaac.
It sort of hasn't really sunk in yet, because I mean, it just shows how important qualifying is, because I don't even think I drove particularly well in that race. I mean, I missed my pit box and I spun, and I still managed to get my best result by far. I think I was helped a bit at the end. I think Hugo and Enzo had some sort of damage that ruined their top speed, but still.
You can say you weren't that quick, but compared to Gregor Hutu's lap times and Hugo Luis's lap times, you did a 120.7. Gregor did a 120.4 and Hugo Luis was a 120.6, so you you were really on that pace, and your qualifying lap time was only 5 tenths, sorry, off of the top guys. So you definitely did have some pace this week, which we've seen you run really quickly and consistently in other races, but not really had that luck that the other drivers need to finish on the podium. But really good racing again from you today here, and really consistent again.
Yeah, well, I mean, usually I'm fairly confident in my race pace, and like that, but it's usually my qualifying that sort of lets me down, and I think that's the case for a lot of people though. But today I managed to basically run within a tenth of my PB, so that set me up for a really good race.
Yeah, it was really a good qualifying session. It was really tight at the top though as well. Hutu's lap was a 120.1 and Luis with a 120.2 and you with a 120.2 as well. So it was very close. But what were your tactics really coming into this race? Because the wind and the weather wasn't really the greatest of what I've been told from some drivers.
I didn't really notice too much the wind. The track didn't have that much grip, but it was okay. It just had to you had to wheel spin it on exit a bit more than normal, which makes it a bit harder to sort of be consistent. But that was what I really focused on in practice, was sort of making sure I could do the race without crashing and make sure I'd be confident on that, because I know that usually because the track's so unforgiving. Once you make one mistake in the real race, it's hard to keep your confidence at that point. It's easy to keep making mistakes, so I focused on that really.
Especially after that mistake you made, though, did your confidence drop, or were you being told by your teammates in TeamSpeak or by your spotter, like, keep your head up, keep driving how you are, and did they help you regain that confidence?
Well, I was muted in TeamSpeak, so they didn't really help, but I don't know, I was more angry at myself than I didn't lose confidence, because it wasn't really like a driving mistake. It was just one of those stupid things where, because I just got caught out by where he braked. I think I probably just braked a little bit too late, which is really easy to do there. But I was going to hit the back of him, so I had to turn, and then, yeah, I let me into a crash. But it didn't really affect my confidence. I was just sort of angry at myself.
Well, congratulations on your first WCS podium and your second position. It's a great finish for you. Is there any words and thank yous you'd like to say?
Yeah, I'd like to thank our team sponsors vracing.se and simroom.com.
Well,
And obviously
well done,
the team
Isaac.
for the hard work.
Well done. And I think Randy's joined with Alessia Usiakola.
I am Alexi. Third place. Very, very good run. How was it from your point of view?
Well, our team, Glacier Racing, has struggled with this new build. Car was perfect in the early in the season, but this new update just doesn't fit to our setups. And well, yeah, our car was really hard to drive today, and it shows in our qualifying pace. So 9th on the grid was not so great, because this is hard track to overtake, and well, after all, hard race, and almost got the second place, but Isaac had so much pace, so I just thought that I try to keep this third place.
Well, that's very, very good. Third from coming from 9th on the grid is fantastic. Moving your way up. You said that the new build doesn't really fit your setups. Is there anything in particular that you're finding more difficult with the car than anything?
Well, I don't know, because we heard the new build was coming after it was already published, so was no time to adjust setup too much, and but we need to just improve to next race and try to find some qualifying pace, so races would be much easier. Today I was lucky that Hugo and Enzo probably just had a too low car, so they probably broke their base plate or something. So I had too easy overtakes there.
All right, well, fantastic, fantastic race, Lexi. I got one more question for you. How upset is Club Finland that Will Vincent decided to go to Indianapolis instead of the Club Finland meetup?
I don't know.
All right, well, fantastic race, Alexi. Congratulations on the P3. Well
Thanks.
done, and congratulations, Glacier Racing. Anyone you'd like to thank?
Well, of course, to the sponsors and team, only of course to make the car work, even how it worked. But yeah, thanks to all.
Well, really great performance there from Aleski Usiakola, especially after 2 weeks off, and a great performance from Isaac and also Gregor Hutu. So, what more can you say, really, Randy? It's been a mixed day, really, of results and of drivers. Oli Bakara, one of the quickest drivers, took an early exit from the race. He was P5 behind his teammate Jacola until that incident in Oak Tree. And surprisingly, that only claimed three drivers this week.
Yeah, the Oak Tree was a bit more forgiving this season than last season. Last season we saw, I think it was 17 offs. I believe there's a video on YouTube from the pro race, and it's quite entertaining to watch. But yeah, I thought it was a pretty good race. The lead, like I said a couple times, wasn't the most exciting. Gregor just ran away with it, as he's known for. But there's some battles down, 2, 3, and then also towards the back end of the top 10, and even towards the back end of the grid that were great fun to watch.
Yeah, there was some real good racing all over the track, but a real downset of the race really was Hugo Luis. He had pace at the start of the race with only a 2/10 of a gap really between him and Gregor Hutu, and then it all went wrong after the first set of pit stops. When he lost that gap, it got to about a 9-10 second gap, and Gregor just drove away from him, and Hugo couldn't really answer back with anything. He tried everything he could, but there was nothing he could do really, was there?
Definitely. I don't know what happened to Hugo. I don't know if he messed up a pit stop again, or if maybe he got some damage and that slowed the car down a whole bunch. I didn't see anything on his car that indicated it was damaged, but who knows? It could have been something unseen. But definitely kind of wish that Hugo could have possibly stayed in there a little bit more and taken it to Gregor. It would have made the race that much more exciting.
That is what everyone really wants to see, isn't it? It's a thing that we've seen so much in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix series, is M2 drivers battling against each other, and it's nice to see new talent coming through though. I'll say it again, it's really nice to see new talent like Isaac Price, Aleski Usiakola, and Oli Bakara, and Enzo Benito also coming through as well. It's nice to see new drivers, but it's not nice to see when you see an experienced guy like Hugo Luis take 2 major knocks to his championship run after just 7 weeks in the series. So whether he'll be able to pick that up next week, in 2 weeks' time, or after the summer break that we have in a couple of weeks as well. But really good racing on the whole, really, wasn't it, Randy?
Yep, I definitely thought so. One of the more exciting races I've called from this Formula 1 car, and I've done a couple of them.
Yeah, well, I've been Jake Cameron, and that's been Randy Shenworth. Thank you for joining us for the 7th round of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series at Virginia International Raceway. Hugo Luis lost out to his reigning battle of Gregor Hutu. He will extend that championship lead. But in 2 weeks' time, we head to Montreal for the round 8 of the iRacing Grand Prix World Series. But don't forget, just before that, we will have coverage from the NASCAR iRacing Peak Anti-Freeze Series, sponsored by iRacing, hosted by iRacing, at Dover International Speedway. Watch it here on PSR TV.